Welcome to My Healing is Your Healing, a podcast for the woman who is ready to stop performing and reclaim her voice. I'm your host, Celeste, and around here, we don't do surface level. We go deep. Each week, we'll explore concepts like self-discovery, radical honesty, and the kind of healing that rewrites your story from the inside out. This is a space for truth-telling, for remembering who you are, and for coming home to yourself, louder, braver, and more radiant than ever. So come as you are, and let's do this together. Let's begin. Welcome back to My Healing is Your Healing. And today, I want to talk to the part of you that feels like joy is meant for everyone else but you. The version of you who wonders if the life you are living is actually yours or just a performance for everyone else watching. Because for the longest time, I used to think that happiness was for other people. For me, happiness felt like a myth. It's like when you think that coffee is supposed to just taste like burnt water because that's all you've ever known for your entire life. And then one day you try an Americano and your whole world shifts and you realize, oh, that's what it's actually supposed to taste like. Or when the world tells you that sex is supposed to be this amazing, soul-connecting thing, but your version of it has always felt mechanical and disconnected, and you find yourself asking, is this over yet? Like a performance you're expected to enjoy just because everyone else swears that they do. That's how I felt about happiness. I thought I knew what it was. I could describe it. I could name its colors, chase its shape, or at least try to make it out from a distance. But I had never actually felt it. Not the kind that floods your whole body like liquid bliss. The kind that makes you exhale and say, oh, now I understand. It took me 36 years to feel that. So let me tell you how I got there. I sure lived a lot of awkward, people-pleasing, mask-wearing years. I grew up such a perfectionist and a people-pleaser. Someone who just desperately wanted to be validated. The kind of girl who would go out and give a beautiful violin recital and then immediately hide behind her dad afterward because the idea of being seen and praised by other people was just too much. I wanted to be seen. I wanted the compliments, but I didn't know how to receive it. So I chased the kind of visibility that comes with gold stars. The kind that feels safe because it's measurable. Straight A's, academic perfection. I earned 3 degrees. I made sure I was always first chair clarinet. I pushed myself in swimming, constantly striving for PRs, hitting AAA zone times, and landing on podiums. People were always watching me become the best version of myself on paper. And praise, it came in the form of ice cream after recitals. It came from teachers and coaches, from nods of approval from other parents, from men, from strangers. Because if I wasn't succeeding, what was I even doing? Who was I? Did I even exist? I shaped my identity through achievements, through checking off boxes. My worth became something that was handed to me by other people. Teachers, bosses, friends, family, men, strangers. I didn't live for what felt good to me. I lived for what looked good from the outside. For what sounded impressive in a LinkedIn bio. And when you're raised on that conveyor belt of expectation, it becomes impossible to question it. Because everyone around you is moving in the same way, staying in their assigned lanes, reading off that same script. So if you hit pause for even a second and say, wait, is this the life I even want? It's like stepping on a twig in a silent forest or speaking a little too loudly in a quiet library, and it's like every head turns. The pressure to stay silent, to keep smiling, to stay in line. It's suffocating. So to dig in a little deeper here, let me tell you about the stories I told myself growing up. I did not grow up with a healthy model of what love is. My parents got divorced when I was really young, and so I turned to the stories that the world handed to me instead. Disney movies, rom-coms, happily ever afters. And I believed what those stories told me. That one day, love would come and save me. That Prince Charming would just knock on my door and say, "Okay, Celeste, now your life can begin. Let's ride off into the sunset." And so I waited. And I dated. I endured countless first dates, second chances, third maybes. I put up with things I never should have accepted. I swiped endlessly. I bought far too many things on Amazon to soothe that empty space inside of me. I drowned myself in reruns of Gilmore Girls. I drank. I got high. I cranked up the volume of my life so loud that I didn't have to feel my own feelings or hear my own thoughts. And still I smiled. Because to the outside world, I was thriving because I had the job, the degrees, the achievements. Celeste had it all together. But what they didn't see was the void that I was trying to fill inside. The emptiness that I'd kept patching with plans and purchases and people and food and drink. So when I met Tyler at the pool on a Friday night, doing my little swim workout, training for an Ironman, the very night I told the universe I was done with the dating apps and ready for something real, it did feel like a sign. Finally, the love story I had always been promised. But what I didn't realize then was I had just put myself back on that same conveyor belt I tried to get off. I forced things. I literally dragged him to the jewelry store. I told him what ring I wanted, how to propose. I orchestrated it all. I was writing a script for a life I didn't even actually want. And when he proposed, it didn't feel right, but I said yes anyway. And I smiled, because that's what you do, right? So let's talk about what rock bottom really looks like. I'm going to tee it up for you. I was in Las Vegas 2 weeks before my wedding. I was there for a conference, walking along the strip with the bright lights soaking in the 115-degree dry heat. I was with a colleague just making casual conversation. And then he turns to me and he asks, "Celeste, do you ever feel seen?" And I literally just cracked open. Tears welled in my eyes instantly. And he looked at me with the deer in the headlights, panicked. "What did I just do? Oh my God, are you okay?" And the truth was, the answer was no. I had never truly been seen. Not by my friends, not by my family, not by the men I had dated, not even by myself. And yet there I was, about to stand at the altar, about to commit to a life that I didn't actually choose, or at least not consciously. A life I had forced myself into with a version of myself I didn't even know. I had the conversations. I tried to name the disconnection. But I ultimately walked down the aisle anyway. I wore the dress. I smiled for the photos. And I said the vows. I played the part. And that night, I found myself in the shower, curled up on the floor, sobbing, mascara yet again dripping down my face, a full-blown panic attack. My skin felt too tight. My chest was caving in. I could barely breathe. And I sat there for an hour. And the water went cold. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. But I was drowning. The life I had built was not mine. The script I had followed wasn't mine either. I wasn't the one who created it. The love I had chased was conditional and curated and performative. And I had spent my whole life stacking titles and achievements. Daughter, doctor, athlete, VP, Ironman, fiance, wife. But none of those things told the truth of who I was. And that was the night that I finally heard it. Celeste, this isn't you. This isn't it. And that moment on the cold shower floor, stripped of my titles and my achievements and the expectations I had carried for decades, was the night I finally chose myself. Not the curated version, not the high-achieving gold star girl, but the real me. That was the moment I realized I was the one who had to knock on my own door. I was the one who had to come and save me. And I stood at the threshold of my life saying, Celeste, let me in. I am here. I choose you. And that's when the work began. All of the rebuilding and the remembering and the unlearning. Not because I found someone to choose me, but because I stopped outsourcing my happiness. And that was the moment that my story began to evolve. Because I started showing myself what it actually felt like to be loved. Not because someone else chose me, but because I finally did. And from there, I got curious. What does Celeste actually like? Who is she beneath all of her achievements? What really lights her up? So I started dabbling in the things I had never allowed myself to try before. Things I was afraid I'd look ridiculous doing. Things I feared being bad at. Because in a world built on performance and perfectionism, starting over felt terrifying. But this was the reckoning. This was where choosing myself cracked open an entirely new world of possibility. A life I could actually want, a life that I could love. And instead of coming home to Netflix and numbing, I came home to myself. I learned to sit in my own company. I learned to enjoy it. And yes, like I said, healing was painful, so painful. But it was also the most meaningful thing I've ever done. Because when you start to feel again, when you stop running, when you stop numbing, you start noticing the quiet moments of happiness. You begin to see the beauty. You feel wonder. You chase curiosity. You stretch into creativity. And you open yourself to what the world can actually offer you. And most importantly, you come home to yourself. You realize that home is wherever you are. And from that place, you start to trust yourself again. You start to belong to yourself. And this is where I started learning what happiness really looks like, what it really feels like. Not the highlight reel, not the perfect body or the big salary or the curated Instagram wedding. Happiness is waking up and recognizing the woman in the mirror. It's being able to look at her and say, I love you, and actually mean it. Happiness is choosing yourself in the moments where it would be easier to just walk away and abandon her. Happiness is understanding that no one is coming to save you, but also knowing that you never needed saving in the first place. You just needed remembering, you needed you. So if you've ever wondered why happiness feels so out of reach, if you've been chasing something that you can't quite name, or if you've ever stood in that same cold shower, or had an epiphany on the strip, or looked in the mirror and thought, who even am I? This episode is your reminder. Happiness isn't reserved for other people. It's for you. So if this episode landed with you, share it with someone who's ready to heal out loud with you. Tag me on Instagram at myhealingyourhealing and let me know what part resonated with you. And if you're ready for more, hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss the next chapter in this journey. This is just the beginning. Keep showing up, keep growing, and remember, you are never meant to dim your light. Thanks for tuning in and being here, for healing out loud, and for walking this path beside me. If this episode cracked something open or helped you remember a part of yourself, pass it on and share it with someone you love. For more support, free resources, or the next steps to your journey, head over to my website, myhealingisyourhealing.com. And if you loved today's conversation, subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your words help this space grow and help more women find their way home to themselves. If I was your muse today, then my healing is your healing. Until next time.